Hello there, and thank you for joining my presentation, Global Freight Explained, a beginner's perspective. I'll appear briefly on camera at the start to introduce myself and set the context, then I'll step aside so we can fully focus on the content. So a little bit about me. My name is Barugh. I'm the founder of JAB Global Supply Chain Consultancy, a business I set up to support companies navigating the complexities of international trade. I'm also a chartered member of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport and a member of the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade. I have a passion for education and knowledge sharing. I've delivered lectures and seminars to undergraduate and postgraduate students at leading university business schools. I've covered topics such as international trade finance, multimodal transport solutions, and customs compliance. And I've also worked as a lecturer at Leeds University Business School teaching globalised supply chains. This presentation is aimed at those who wish to pursue a career in global trade, or for others who are just curious about the fundamentals and want to understand how they work. It's easy to follow without complicated jargon, so you should find it beneficial. This presentation covers 3 sections: the role of the freight forwarder, transport modes, and evolution of technology in freight logistics operations. So let's look at the role of the freight forwarder. So what is a freight forwarder? Well, first of all, they're a service provider. Freight forwarders act as intermediaries between importers, exporters, and transport services. They offer tailored logistics solutions to move goods efficiently and cost effectively. They arrange the transport. They coordinate with carriers, whether by road, sea, air or rail, to move goods from origin to destination. This includes selecting routes, booking cargo space, and ensuring timely delivery. Mainly B2B. So if you're not familiar with the term B2B, means business to business. So most freight forwarding is business to business, working with manufacturers, wholesalers and retailers. However, freight forwarders are now getting more sophisticated with the services that they offer, including B2C, business to consumer. So for example, if someone's ordered something on, let's say, online and having it delivered to home, that's business to consumer. Knowledge of tariffs and customs procedures. So freight forwarders understand duties, taxes and documentation required for cross-border trade and will likely have their own customs brokerage service to ensure that the goods are customs cleared. They help ensure goods clear customs without delays or penalties. Arrange the full movement of the goods. Freight forwarders manage the entire logistics journey, from pick-up at origin to final delivery at destination, including multimodal transport, warehousing and consolidation if needed. Prepare specific related paperwork, so paperwork used for the transport, customs and dangerous goods. So they handle all required documents such as bills of lading, customs declarations and dangerous goods notes. This reduces compliance risks and ensures cargo moves legally and safely across countries. And in most cases, it wouldn't be able to move without any of this documentation anyway. Factors to consider when choosing a freight forwarder. So first of all, professionalism. Look for a BIFA listed agent. Choose a forwarder that is a member of a recognised trade body like BIFA. So in case you don't know what BIFA stands for, it's the British International Freight Association. This shows they adhere to industry standards and offer a level of accountability. Then we have the business requirements. Ensure the forwarder understands your specific needs, whether it's regular shipments, special handling or customs support. The type of business. Some forwarders specialise in certain industries like retail, automotive or pharmaceuticals. Choose one familiar with your sector's unique demands. The mode of transport. So depending on whether you're shipping by air, sea, road or rail, select a forwarder with a strong expertise in carrier networks in that mode, making sure that it suits the requirements of your business. Then we have the urgency of the shipment. So if your shipment is time critical, look for a forwarder experienced in express services and time-sensitive logistics with a strong global reach. And finally, let's have a look at the trade-off. So there's often a balance between speed, cost and service. You don't want to end up importing something that the freight charges, customs and delivery end up costing more than the actual product is worth. This chart shows the import and export process of a shipment, broken into 11 stages, from the seller to the final buyer. The first 5 stages marked in red happen at origin. So it begins with the seller. This could be a manufacturer, wholesaler or exporter. Next, we need to complete the export declarations to clear the goods for departure from the country. Then comes the pre-carriage, which is the movement of goods from the seller's premises to the departure port or terminal. The goods are then loaded onto the transport unit, then they are loaded on board the vessel or aircraft for international shipment. They are then transported to the country of destination, so this is shown in the dark blue. The remaining 5 stages, shown in light blue, take place at destination. The goods are transported to the destination country. On arrival, they are unloaded from the main transport. This is followed by import declarations and customs formalities, which must be completed before goods can be released. The goods are delivered to the named terminal or place, often agreed in advance by Incoterms. Then there will be the onward carriage, and finally the goods are delivered to the buyer. This overview shows just how many moving parts are involved and highlights the role of freight forwarders in managing this complex process from end to end. So let's look at Incoterms. Incoterms are published every 10 years. 2020 is the latest version. Incoterms is an acronym standing for International Commercial Terms. Incoterms is a trademark of the International Chamber of Commerce, registered in several countries. They help legally between vendor and buyer. They play a crucial role in international trade contracts because they define who is responsible for what at each stage of the shipment. Things like costs, risk and responsibility. So for example, they clarify whether the seller or buyer is responsible for insurance, customs clearance or transport at different stages. In short, Incoterms help reduce misunderstanding and legal disputes by giving both parties a clear framework to work within. This chart explains the current Incoterms. So let's break it down. At the top you see the 11 Incoterms ranging from Ex Works to DDP, which is delivered duty paid. Also it shows you the different modes of transport that apply for the individual Incoterms. So it's important to note that the different Incoterms apply to different modes of transport. When you've worked in industry as long as I have, I've had occasionally a salesman say to me, "Jamie, can we arrange this air freight movement on FOB?" It's not correct, so FOB is strictly for sea and inland waterway transport, so using it for air shipments is wrong, both in principle and in practice. Throughout the chart, you can see at a glance how responsibilities are divided between the buyer and the seller at each stage of the transaction. And on the left-hand side, it shows you the different costs and risk responsibilities that the buyer or seller will be responsible for. I could go into Incoterms in a lot more detail, but it would actually be a lecture in itself. But what I will do, I will use DAP as an example. So if I was an importer and I was importing something by DAP So if you look at the top of the chart, and it's the third from the right hand side, delivered at name place, I would be paying, as an importer, I would be paying for unloading charges, duty, taxes and customs clearance, because I would be paying for the actual the customs clearance of the goods, and the delivery to the final destination. So let's look at some statistics comparing Q1 2025 to Q4 2024. Please note that these are UK figures. So exports increase by 7.16% to £92.61 billion sterling. Imports rose by 3.11% to 152.8 billion. And the trade deficit improved by 1.569 billion. If you're not sure actually what a trade deficit is, so a trade deficit happens when, so if I use it in the UK context, it's when the UK buys more from other countries than it sells to them. So let's look at the next section, which is transport modes. So I'm going to go through the main types of transport used in freight forwarding and go over the advantages and disadvantages of each, and just a quick overview of the documentation that's required. So first of all, air freight. Why choose air freight? Air freight is faster and air freight is global. Advantages of air freight. So air freight is faster. Air freight moves goods in hours rather than days or weeks, so it's perfect for urgent shipments, last minute orders, or products with short shelf lives. Global services. So air freight connects almost every country in the world. Major airlines and cargo carriers operate on fixed schedules with frequent departures, so you can move goods between continents quickly and predictably. There's low risk of delays, so because air freight uses established flight schedules and airports are designed for rapid handling, it's less likely to face major delays. Air freight is a reliable option for time-sensitive goods as well. Disadvantages of air freight. So first of all, high costs. Air freight is the most expensive transport option because you're paying for speed, and that premium can be several times higher than sea or road freight. It's rarely cost effective for bulky or heavy goods, so it's usually reserved for high value, urgent or lightweight shipments. Limited capacity. The majority of planes carrying freight have far less cargo space compared to ships or even large trucks. That means you can't move huge volumes in a single shipment, and space can be tight during busy seasons. This can also make it harder and more expensive to secure space for last-minute bookings. Dependent on weather conditions. So although air freight is generally reliable, it can still be affected by bad weather. Heavy fog, snow, storms or high winds can ground flights or cause delays. While these disruptions are often shorter than sea or road delays, they can still throw off tight delivery schedules. So let's look at some air freight facts. Air freight represents 33% of global trade by value, but less than 1% of global trade by volume. This year, we're on track for 72.5 million metric tons to be transported by air. Air cargo transports around $8 trillion of value of goods. There are 3,200 airports worldwide and 60,000 trade lines that transport commercial air freight. Paperwork used for air freight. So first of all, we have the airway bill. So an airway bill is the main transport document used for air freight. It's a contract between the shipper and the airline. It shows who's sending and receiving the shipment, the route it's taking. It also contains the specifications. So what I mean by specification includes the pieces and the weight of the shipment. Airlines, customs and freight forwarders all use the airway bill to track, handle and clear the cargo. So without it, the goods can't legally move by air. Please note that the documents I'm about to cover apply to all modes of transport, so you're going to see them appear later on again in the presentation. So first of all, we've got the commercial invoice. A commercial invoice is a document used for any importing or exporting transaction. It should show the value of the goods in a specific currency, state the country of origin, so this is where the goods are made, and also includes a commodity code that tells customs exactly what the goods are. Customs officers use this document to check the shipment details, work out duties and taxes, and decide if the goods can be cleared for entry or exit. Sometimes parts of this information, so like weights, packaging details, or even the country of origin, can also appear on the packing list. However, without an accurate commercial invoice, your shipment can be delayed, you could face fines, or even refuse clearance. Next, we'll look at the packing list. So this states exactly what's inside each box or container, how many items, their weight, but including both the net weight, the weight of the goods alone, and gross weight, so that's the goods plus the packaging. This matters in importing and exporting because customs carriers and warehouse teams need accurate weights to calculate freight costs, check legal limits, and make sure the shipment is handled safely. Next, we have the customs declaration. A customs declaration is the official form you submit to the authorities when importing or exporting goods. It lists details like what the goods are, their value, where they came from, and where they're going. Customs use this to decide if the goods meet all legal requirements and to calculate any duties or taxes that need to be paid. Without a correct customs declaration, your shipment won't be cleared and it could be held at the border. Dangerous goods note. If you're moving hazardous items like chemicals, flammable liquids, or even batteries, you'll need a dangerous goods note. It tells the airline, shipping line, or trucking company exactly what the goods are, how they're packed, and how they should be handled safely. This is a legal requirement for transporting dangerous goods and is essential to prevent accidents during transit. Then we have the certificate of origin. A certificate of origin proves where the goods were made. Customs at the destination may need to check if the goods qualify for reduced duties under the trade agreement or to confirm they're not coming in from a restricted country. So let's have a look at the airway bill. So you'll see it shows the shipper and the consignee, the airport of departure, the airport of arrival, and it shows you the pieces and weight. Also includes what the actual goods are. So let's look at sea freight. Why choose sea freight? First of all, it's economical and it also has global reach. Advantages of sea freight. First of all, you have cheap costs. It's cheaper, significantly cheaper than air freight, for example. You've got global services. And of course, higher capacity. Disadvantages of sea freight. First of all, we've got slower transit. So when compared to air freight, it's considerably slower. Again, it's weather dependent, so the same reasons that I explained before for air freight. So with sea freight, handling can be a disadvantage. So in sea freight, cargo is often loaded and unloaded multiple times, transferred between ports, and stored in different facilities before reaching its destination. Each handling stage increases the risk of damage, especially if the goods are fragile, improperly packed, or exposed to moisture and temperature changes during transit. Sea freight facts. Around 90% of the world's trade is carried by sea freight. 334.5 million tonnes were transported globally in 2024. The value of sea freight trade globally is around 14 trillion US dollars. Paperwork used for sea freight. So first of all, we have the bill of lading. A bill of lading is a key document used in sea freight that acts as a receipt for the goods, a contract between the shipper and the carrier. It includes important details such as what's being shipped, who is sending and receiving it, and where it's going. It's used to confirm the shipment, outline the terms of transport, and control the release of the goods, often making sure the cargo is only handed over once payment or trade conditions are met. This makes it a crucial part of international trade and shipping. Then the other documents, the commercial invoice, the packing list, customs declaration, the dangerous goods note, and the certificate of origin are used for all modes of transport and discussed earlier. Here we have a sample bill of lading which shows you the shipper, the consignee, and it shows other details of what the consignment actually is, as well as freight charges and seal numbers and so on. European road freight. Why choose European road freight? Well, it's economical. Advantages of European road freight. First of all, you have cheap costs. Then higher capacity. So most trailers going to and from Europe would usually take around 33 Euro pallets and 26 standard pallets. Disadvantages of European road freight. First of all, it's slower transport, so when compared to air, it's a slower mode of transport. Again, it can be weather dependent for the reasons I explained earlier. And also driver breaks can impact the journey. So at the time of this presentation, drivers can be driving for a maximum of 4 hours and 30 minutes. After this, the drivers must take a minimum break of 45 minutes before driving again. So of course this can impact the time of the journey. Paperwork used for European road freights. So first of all, we have the CMR. So a CMR is a document used in international road transport to confirm the details of a shipment. It's really, suppose it's the equivalent of the bill of lading or airway bill, but of course used for road transport. It stands for the Convention on the Contracts for International Carriage of Goods by Road. So in simple terms, it's a standardised form that shows what is being transported, who the sender and receiver are, where the goods are going, and which transport company is handling the delivery. The other documents are the ones that are used for other modes of transport as well. So we've got the commercial invoice, packing list, the customs declaration. If you're moving any dangerous goods, a DGN, so dangerous goods note, and a certificate of origin. Here we have a completed sample CMR. So it shows you the same kind of information as the airway bill and bill of lading. So you know the shipper, the consignee, the agent used on the transport, and details of the Incoterms and the specification of the shipment. This is the final section of the presentation. Evolution of technology in freight logistics operations. The advances in technology. This is a subject I'm especially interested in. Recently, I was invited by the Chartered Institute of Export and International Trade to join a panel discussion on it at the Birmingham NEC. Today I'll share a brief overview, but if you'd like to explore it in more detail, I also deliver a full lecture that covers all the points that I'm about to mention. So first of all, we have paperless processes in freight operations. So going way back when I started my career in freight forwarding, there was a massive amount of paperwork used day to day. I was using typewriters with carbonised paper to produce certificate of origins and so on, bills of lading, customs forms, delivery receipts. Paper processes will replace all that with secure digital systems. Documents are shared, signed and stored online, meaning no delays waiting for couriers or physical signatures. It's quicker, more reliable and reduces the chance of errors or lost files. Automated logistics processes. Automation uses software and systems to handle repetitive operational tasks without human input. In freight forwarding, this might be generating customs declarations, sending shipment updates to customers, or scheduling deliveries. It increases efficiency, reduces mistakes, and frees people up to focus on problem solving and customer service. Tracking and visibility. Tracking tools let you see exactly where goods are during their journey, from origin to destination. This visibility helps freight forwarders and customers plan more accurately, spot delays early, and make quick decisions to keep the cargo moving. Artificial intelligence, AI, in logistics operations. AI can analyse huge amounts of shipping and supply chain data to spot patterns and make predictions. In freight forwarding, AI might forecast the best shipping routes, identify risks like port congestion, or suggest the most cost-effective booking times. Blockchain security in logistics operations. Blockchain is a secure digital ledger where once data is entered, it can't be altered. In freight forwarding, it can store contracts, shipping documents and transaction records, ensuring they're authentic and tamper-proof. This reduces fraud, streamlines disputes and builds trust between all parties involved in the supply chain. And finally, future trends in logistics technology. So freight forwarding is evolving rapidly. Expect more integration of AI, wider use of blockchain, real-time cargo sensors that track condition as well as the location of the freight. Also expect transport to get more sophisticated, with drones and even robots making deliveries. References for the materials and information presented in this session are listed below. I really hope that you enjoyed the presentation and it gave you some insights into working within the freight forwarding industry. If you want to know more about us, then scan the QR code. Thank you.